sustained on Saturday, and then also if you could maybe update, if there is an update on the return of Dwayne Vermeulen to the squad and the medical process that he's going through.
Good morning, Matthew. We are in that 48-hour protocol of assessing all injuries. The medical staff working closely with the coaching group, and we will make an announcement on that tomorrow. It's fantastic to have a guy like Dwayne Vermeulen in the group. Obviously, he will join training session today, and you've already joined our review meetings that we had this morning. So hopefully we will also have more information in terms of what his position will be tomorrow.
And before we get to match-specific questions, impossible to ignore a lot of noise, I guess, from both sides around possible sightings and so on. There's only been one sighting. Is there any surprise that other incidents were not taken further, or are you satisfied with the process that's been followed?
I think we're quite satisfied with the processes that we followed. I think there was good interaction between the coaching staff, and obviously we trust the processes of World Rugby. And whatever decision they take, I think we trust that process, and we will abide to that going forward.
Deon, just reflecting on the performance of the forwards on Saturday, perhaps you could give us your assessment of the set piece performance in particular, and then maybe the role of the forwards that came off on the bench and the momentum that they delivered for you in achieving that result.
Yeah, Matthew, I think if we relate this performance this week to the one previously, I think first of all, I think the forwards responded well in terms of the challenges that we faced and the standards that we wanted to set and the areas that we wanted to improve on in. So maybe we were just a bit at the start slow out of the blocks, but as we continue throughout the match, I think that we really improved in different areas in terms of the line-out and the scrums on our previous performance. There's always a process that we go through in terms of assessing our plan, looking at our system, and obviously the effort that the players put into the execution. And from an effort point of view, and in terms of improving in certain fundamental areas, I think there was a step up in terms of that. I think it's always there will always be a process where we will want to improve, and we know that looking forward to this challenge coming this week, that we still have to raise the bar, and we will continue striving in order to improve and to set higher standards for ourselves.
Lood, if I could turn to you, first of all, just what it was like to be able to be back in an environment like that and contribute in the way that you did at line-out time, at kick receipt from kickoffs, and generally sustaining the momentum amongst the forward pack in that second half.
Yeah, morning, Matthew. I think firstly, being injured, just being a part of this environment is always a massive privilege and something that you can never take for granted. So for me, it was just really happy with the opportunity I could get to get onto the field. And then, like Coach Deon said, we really worked hard last week on our fundamentals at set piece time and especially our attitude come set piece time. So for me, it was just coming on and fulfilling my role that I trained the whole week, doing that to the best of my ability. We had 6 forwards on the bench. We went into the game with a plan with 6 forwards so that we can bring impact and obviously sustain that level of energy the starting lineup had and try and even lift that if possible. So it was just satisfying for us as guys coming off the bench to have an impact on the game.
And perhaps you could reflect for us on the defensive system of the Springboks. You know, when we look back to 2018 and a change in defensive system, 1 try conceded across the first 2 test matches, that from a maul. How satisfied are you as a squad with defensive communication, implementation, and effectiveness?
I think satisfied, Matthew, but I think like Coach Deon mentioned as well, we can never be satisfied. There's always stuff to improve on, always areas to improve on. And I think on our defense, we've got an exceptional defense coach in Jager who pushes us hard, and he's never satisfied, and he makes sure that we as players are never satisfied and always working harder. So I think obviously we've had good results on defense, but I think there's obviously fine tuning in small areas that can make us even better going into the weekend.
And Deon, if I may just come back to you and say, given the way you countered the aerial battle, a very different picture to what we got in the first test, do you expect a tactical change in approach from the Lions in the decider?
Obviously, I think, Matt, the Lions will have a look at the plan and the execution of their plan, and obviously there's some areas that they might feel that they can improve on in. The aerial battle, the kicking game, were a big part of their game in the past 2 test matches. But also we saw in the franchise that they also were very elusive and were using the ball creatively when they're on attack, when they had the opportunity. I think finding a balance between that maybe will be a crucial part, but in test rugby, and I think they will definitely not, in my opinion, completely change tactics in terms of that, but we'll work harder to find that balance and to improve on that in the areas that they think they can.
Thank you, Rowan.
Thank you, Matthew. And we continue, and we say good morning to Nathan.
Good morning, Ray. Good morning, Coach Deon and Lood. Lood, you guys at Time now and probably had a review session this morning with the players regarding Saturday's second test. Judging from the review, can you briefly state what have you guys collectively identified as work-ons coming into the decider this weekend? And then for Coach Deon, a call was made to have Trevor move to Lucid last weekend. Thoughts on his performance that evening, and what would he likely be kept at Lucid? And please provide us an update on Ox. Will he be ready this weekend? Thank you.
Yeah, Nathan, firstly from my side, I think obviously we had a comprehensive review, and there were things that we did well and things we didn't do so well. But I think for us, it's always been improving in all aspects of the game, doesn't matter if we did well or not. There definitely are some areas we identified, but I think as a collective, we just want to improve in every single area. Even the areas where we did well, we want to do even better, and those that didn't go so well, we obviously identified them, and we need to make massive improvement in those areas.
Okay, Nathan, just on Ox, we all know that Ox have played very well in the first test, and it was unlucky for him not to be selected as a result of the injury in the second one. Obviously, as part of the injured group, he still is also part of that injured players that will be assessed and where a decision will be made in the next 48 hours. And hopefully, we will definitely have more information on him tomorrow. On Trevor's performance, I think Trevor made a very good game. I think when he came on from a scrumming perspective and from a morning perspective, giving us momentum and stopping momentum, and also in vulnerable play, I think he made a huge contribution. And we are just lucky and fortunate to have players like that can be so effective on loose head and tight head. And I think based on the performance of Trevor this weekend, he will definitely be one of those props that will be considered for this final test going forward this week.
Thank you, Deon. And we say good morning to Nick Heath.
Good morning. Deon, I'm interested by your remarks on trusting the process, the World Rugby process after the sighting. It's only a few days ago that the director of rugby was producing a 62-minute video criticising the process. What has changed in that time?
No, I can't in terms of anything that has changed or not changed. in my view is that I think the listed things talked about refer to incidents in that specific game. It was also always a policy of looking at incidents in the game fairly to give us a complete understanding in terms of where we can improve on and how we can prepare our players better. I think with that in mind, the things happening in this game, we still have the same outlook in being critical in terms of our game and see how we can perform and execute better on field and how we can improve our communication with the referee or the assistants in the game. And whatever happens in the game, I think there's a thorough process that always goes with that. And in saying that, I think that is the same this week, and we trust that the decisions that will be made on whatever calls have been made in this game will be dealt in the right spirit, and we will have the right outcome in terms of.
And therefore, do you just one follow up? Do you feel that there was more parity in the second test compared to the first in terms of that communication and the relationship with the officials? And if so, do you think that is as a direct result of what Rassie said last week?
No, I can't comment in terms of if it has a direct result. All I can say is that I think we're quite happy with the way in which certain areas of the game that we've highlighted were refereed this week. I think there was good communication between the referee and the players, the referee and the captain throughout the game. And at the end of the game, we were able to express ourselves in the way that we want to play the type of rugby that we feel is our strength, and to work for results in relation towards that. So yeah, I think there was we were quite happy in terms of how the game has been refereed this past weekend.
Thank you, Deon. Thank you, Nick. And Ken Boland, you're up next.
Thanks, Sharon. Morning, Deon and Lood. Lood, congratulations on your massive second half at the weekend. In the first test, we saw the bench come on and not make nearly as much of an impact as you did in the second test. Apart from just having more game time together in the 6-2 split, were there any other reasons for a much bigger impact this time?
Yeah, again, I think obviously we were disappointed with what we brought as a bench in that first test, and yeah, it may be a bit of game time together, it may be a bit of rustiness or what you can call it, but we don't make any excuses. I think we disappointed ourselves, we disappointed our coaches and the country, you know. So for us, we took it really, and not just the bench, starting lineup, everybody, coaches, management, everybody. We said we're going to take it personal, we're going to make it personal. It's about, you know, you go out there and you play for the people, your family, the people of this country, people that are have less than you and are less privileged than you. So for us, it was just as a team to make it a bit more personal, and I think that fired us up as a bench as well.
Thank you, Lood. And Brendan, now, good morning to you.
Morning, guys. Lood, just following on what you said, and Deon can also maybe weigh in here if you want. You said you had to make it a little bit more personal. Warren Gatland said on Saturday night he saw the emotion that the Springboks had given in that victory, and he wondered if you could do it again. Is there another danger of maybe putting too much emotion into that game, and how do you get yourselves up, to make sure that you don't lose that this week?
I think firstly it's about understanding what it's about. It's about more than yourself. You're representing a whole country out there, Brendan, and I think another thing is keeping each other accountable as players and as coaches coaches keeping players accountable and players keeping each other accountable and driving standards. And hopefully we can carry that same energy into this weekend's deciding test match.
Thank you, Lood. And the next question will come from Jan de Koning.
Dankie, Deon. Deon, Lood, thank you very much. Deon, apologies if this question has been answered. I was a few minutes late. So can you give us a recap of the injury situation in the team and the role that Dwayne will play, please?
Jan, it has been answered. Yes, if you don't mind. We will have the recording that will circulate as per usual afterwards.
Okay,
just,
thank you.
yes, thank you. It's just that we have a lot of media in attendance, a lot of hands. So if you excuse me, let's move on. And Heinz Schenk, good morning.
Thanks, Rayon. Morning, guys. Deon, one of the interesting things that Jacques Nienaber mentioned, in his post-match presser was just how well the senior group actually took responsibility last week, in conducting the review and coming up with plans. He almost joked that he said, they deserved his win bonus because they basically, drove the almost like the adapting, the tactics and that type of thing. I just wanted to get from your perspective, how have you enjoyed, working with the senior group of guys, just digesting their ideas, and that whole symbiotic process?
Yeah, no, it's a very good question. I think we've got a very transparent and open environment where we appreciate each other's contribution. I mean, from a coaching perspective, I mean, it's good for me to sit down and ID some challenges in terms of our own game and share those views with leaders like Lood and the rest of Franco and Dwayne and these guys. And obviously, they've been played a lot of tests already. They've experienced guys, the senior guys in the group, and I think it will just be stupid not to tap into that knowledge, into that experience, because at the end of the day, it's not about the individual, but it's about what is good for the team. And as a collective, I mean, it's very important that we engage in different learning styles and we engage into interaction where we can share ideas, make plans together, so that everyone at the end of the day feel comfortable in order to execute that plan on game day. Obviously, at the end of the day, it's the players that drive that plan on field and have to make decisions on the spur of the moment. So it's important from a coaching perspective to create that environment so that players take ownership of that, and that we collectively agree in terms of what is the right plan to follow in order to get the results that we want. Thank you, Deon. And Mike Greenway, good morning.
How's it, everybody? A question for Lood. Just from a viewer's point of view, there seemed to be one heck of a lot of niggle in that match, a lot more than the usual test matches. Is that how you guys saw it as players, and why do you think that was?
Yeah, I would say probably a little bit more niggle. It's just the magnitude of the game. It's just what it is. They are playing for their countries. They are also very world-class players who are very proud, and they are there for a reason. And for us, obviously, it was personal as well. For them, it was a massive game. If they won that second test, they win the series. And for us, even bigger, because if we lost it, we were done. So I just think the magnitude of the game contributed to that little bit of niggle.
Cool, thanks.
Thank you, Mike. Will Keller, you're up next.
Hi there, this is one for Deon. Do you think that this series has been a bad advert for rugby?
No, not at all. I think it's a spectacle. I think it's fantastic to see this history being continued. It will always be rugby. It's always about being about a physical and a battle on field, but also a battle where opponents try to outsmart each other, whether it's on or off field. And I think the competitiveness and the talent that is shown from both teams on field, I think it's good for world rugby. And if we can continue being competitive at this level and aspire to be better, I think our rugby in South Africa, and I think we'll just get better.
Thank you. Shafiq Mouton, you're up next.
Deon, jy was vir lank die gesig van die Southern Kings. Wat beteken die opgang van Makazole Mapimpi en Lucanio Am vir jou wat lank hulle afrigter was?
Fantasties. Dit is natuurlijk bevredigend om te zien dat spelers wat daar begin, bij kleiner unies begin, so goed vorderen en aan het einde van die dag hulle droom bereik. Ek is net baie dankbaar dat ek 'n klein bydrae kon maak om hulle te assisteer om daai droom uit te leef. Aan die einde van die dag raak belangrik van hoe groot die begeerte is van die speler om dit te bereik en hoe hard hulle werk. As jy vir hulle, as jy daarna kyk, dan moet jy net vir hulle sê, manne, wel gedaan, julle verdien het om hier te wees, julle het hard gewerk, julle het geglo in julle self, julle het genoeg talent om aan die einde van die dag boei te kom. En ek hoop dat hulle voorbeeld sal ook as inspirasie dien vir die spelers wat aspireer om op hierdie vlak uit te kom, dat met die harde werk en deursettingsvermoë alles moontlik is. En dat ons afrigters net moet besef dat die klein bydrae wat ons kan maak, is belangrik om spelers te help elke dag om tot die beste van hulle vermoëns te probeer wees om aan die einde van die dag die hoogste sport te bereik. Yeah.
Thank you, Deon. Just for our international audience, Deon, if you can bear with me, if you can just give a brief summary of that in English, the emergence and the performances of former Southern Kings players, Makazole Mapimpi and Lucanio Am.
I just wanted to say I'm glad that they've eventually reached their potential, and I'm happy that I could have played a small part in assisting them in reaching their potential. I think there's a saying that says that coaches or good coaches can influence and change games, but great coaches at the end of the day influence or change lives. And I think from a coaching perspective, I think it's important that we always need to strive in order to change lives of people and it mustn't be always just about just winning games, but in making meaningful contributions in the daily lives of people. And in the Springbok environment with the leadership of Rassie, Rasmus and Jacques, I can honestly say that you can clearly see in terms of how the players respond and how they express themselves and through the opportunities that they create, that we are in the vicinity of great coaches, people that make a meaningful contribution in the lives of different people. And I also think our director of rugby's contributions and the way he drives everyone in the environment to be the best every day in terms of what they can be, the extra miles that he walk in terms of ensuring that the players can perform to the best of their ability. I think that is a tremendous attributes. And coming back to those gentlemen, I think it's just fantastic to see that through a system like this, players that are out there that are striving to become the best that they can be. I hope that the examples of the Mapimpis and the Ams and all the youngsters coming through are inspiring for them in order to also strive to reach their potential.
Thank you, Deon. And our final question in English will go to Craig Ray before we go for a summary in Afrikaans with Percy. Good morning, Craig.
Hi, guys. Thank you. Thanks, Rayon. Hello, Deon and Lood. Deon, I suppose, well, for both of you, but maybe as the coach, Deon, you can answer this. Are you surprised by this narrative that the Boks are boring and they're ruining rugby as a spectacle? Yeah, when the Lions are employing almost identical tactics to the Springboks. And the Boks have also scored 3 tries in the series to the one of the Lions, all by backline players. Yeah, and you've crossed the line twice more for tries that were disallowed. So are you quite surprised by this narrative?
Yeah, I think I was not part of that, but if you think the same narrative was there when the Boks of win the Castle or the championship trophy last year, the same narrative was there when they won the World Cup. It's still the same narrative. So it's surprising that we don't see the effectiveness of this and in terms of getting good results. I think there's always a plan behind everything, and I don't think when we execute stuff, it's about being boring, but it's about understanding what we want to achieve, and in doing that, I think we create enough opportunities in order to being able to play with the ball in hand and score tries. And I think I believe in our approach and what it leads us to. And I think we must just get better in terms of what we are doing.
Thank you. Thank you, Deon, en goeiemôre of goeiemiddag aan Percy. Jy wil seker opsomming in Afrikaans hê van beide Deon en Lood. Kan maar voortgaan.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Rayan. Goeiemiddag, meneer Davids, meneer De Jager. Deon, kan ek net vra, dit kon kort is Afrikaans ter opsomming, hoe is die gees in die kamp na die naweek se sege? En in jou antwoord kan jy moontlik dalk vir my sê, wat se teenwoordigheid, wat se bydrae bring iemand soos 'n ervare Dwayne Vermeulen en die jong Jaden Hendricks dan vir julle in julle groep nou in die aanloop tot hierdie naweek se wedstryd? En dan met die Jager, net kortliks het gepraat van die afgelope naweek se toets was baie persoonlik vir julle gewees. Gaan die intensiteit opneem hierdie naweek of gaan dit afneem? Is dit net 'n gewone formaliteit vir julle hierdie naweek?
Ek dink natuurlik is ons baie meer gemakliker en soos bly oor ons oorwinning, maar ons besef ook dat die taak is nog nie klaar nie. Ons het baie wat ons voorlê en dat ons op ons beste moet wees Saterdag as ons die wedstryd wil wen. En ek dink ons ingesteldheid sal nie veel verander in terme van wat dit was verlede week nie, en ons besef dat almal en wat hoedanigheid hier ook al hier is dat jy dat ons standaarde sal moet lig om die eindresultaat te bereik. In terme van Dwayne Vermeulen se teenwoordigheid, ek dink 'n speler met Dwayne se ervaring is belangrik in terme van sy bydrae, sou dit op die veld wees, maar ook van die veld af. So ons is baie dankbaar om in hierdie tydstip deel van ons groep te hê, en ek dink sy bydrae, wat dit ook al mag wees, sal waardevol vir ons wees hierdie week. En dan vir ouetjies soos Jaden Hendricks, 'n jong, opwindende, talentvolle speler wat hierdie stelsel van SA Rugby kom en wat konstant in hierdie stadium baie goed betoon. Ek dink dit is 'n baie goeie geleentheid vir hom om in hierdie stadium in die groep in te kom. Ons dink hy beskik oor die wonderlike oor die vaardighede en die intellek om goed te vertoon op hierdie vlak, en ek dink om dan skouers te stuur met ervare spelers soos Faf, Kobus en hulle wat hulle langer periode hier is, sal dit 'n goeie inspuiting wees vir hom in hierdie stadium om te verstaan wat dit verg om op hierdie vlak te presteer, en sou hy 'n kans kry in die toekoms, dink ek sal hierdie ondervinding vir hom nou baie waardevol wees.
Baie dankie. Percy, as jy net jou vraag kan herhaal aan Lood asseblief.
Ek maak beslis so, Rian. Lood, ek was besig om jou te vra, net jy het gepraat van hierdie afgelope naweek se wedstryd was baie persoonlik geweest. Gaan die intensiteit afneem of gaan dit opneem hierdie naweek, of is dit net 'n geblote formaliteit vir julle hierdie naweek?
Nee, dis alles behalwe 'n formaliteit. Dus ek dink dit is dis vir ons soos 'n finaal en vir hulle. Hulle is 'n wêreldklas span met van die wêreldklas spelers. So vir ons is glad nie 'n formaliteit nie. Ons weet ons gaan op ons beste moet wees om hulle te klop die naweek. So ja, in hierdie week sal ons werk om seker te maak dat ons kom Saterdag op ons beste kan wees en absoluut 100% kan gee om my wedstryd te wen en om die reeks te wen.